Not going to say anything till I get people logging in. Wouldn't make much sense to do so. I'll just say for the record, though, I was just playing Ghost Riders in the Sky by Johnny Cash. Watched Twisters today, that was part of the soundtrack, so that's just for the record. If anyone overheard that. Let's keep an eye on that stream. It's late, so this might be my first non-participant live stream. We'll see. So, oh no, I thought there was one person there, but maybe not. If you could wait 5 minutes once, this is okay. So I've got one person logging in there. Just see if there's anyone else. Ashley Wilson. Hello, welcome, Ashley. Actually, this isn't too late by my standards. I've actually got up. I mean, it is late for a live stream, granted. Doing my washing up now because I was at the cinema today. So it is late for a live stream, but I stay up a lot later than this. How are you, Ashley? Actually, since you're the first person to log in, I do have a question because I've seen you. You've had a few comments. Please don't take this the wrong way, but Ashley can be a male or female name. I'm just wondering, are you a guy or a girl? Hope that's not an offensive question, but I'm genuinely just curious. Don't have to answer, of course. Simply ask. I'd say the same thing if your name was Sam or another name that could go both ways. Because honestly, I don't have that many female subscribers, so I mean, you could be a guy or a girl. I guess I'm just trying to ascertain participation in my channel. But like I say, no, I hope you don't mind the question. Still there, Ashley? I'll see how this one goes. I mean, if it's if not many people log in after. Let's see. Miss your usual live events as I work there, and I'm a girl. Well, welcome, Ashley. I just asked that, and thank you for not objecting to the question because most of the participation on my channel is guys, so it's refreshing, honestly, to see female participation as well. So you're very, very welcome. You work there. I actually used to apply for a job like that. Well, I would like to do some night shift work or something like that because it would correspond more to my sleeping structure. But I applied for some night security work. I didn't get it. I work as an English tutor. It's a part-time job, and I often have to factor in the time differences with my students. What's your line of work, if you don't mind me asking? Are you in security, or is it like a late office job, or what's your line of work? Ashley Bradbury, multimedia designer. Second, Ashley, welcome. Thoughts of the Jeremy Kyle response video the Sun put out today? I didn't see it, honestly. I'll just say this. So if they're defending Kyle, I honestly don't have any interest in seeing it because I think the show's gone. I've seen all this. I mean, I don't know. I know Kyle's had a column in the Sun. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Sun's defending him. But if that's the case, honestly, I've just no interest. It would just depress and annoy me. Because we've heard it all last 5 years. We've heard all the excuses for Kyle. He's got plenty of apologists, including I believe he works for Talk TV at the moment. And the Sun, he had a column on the Sun, so I can already predict what they would say. I mean, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I would imagine they're just defending him. In which case, I've honestly no interest. It would just wind me up, to be honest. Because of a vested interest, he's basically an employee of sorts. I can imagine it'll go along the lines of, oh, no one forced the guest to go on, Kyle helped people, etc. It actually sickens me. I'd be not surprised to hear. Sorry, I missed that point. You're in education too. Yeah, I'm a tutor, but very, very sparse work at the moment. I mean, I really have to rely on word of mouth, and I got in touch with a former colleague today in China, so maybe she'll put me in touch with students. She's been helpful in the past, so we'll see what happens. But You may know, Ashley, if you're in tutorial work, it is kind of a freelance basis. Excuse me, just got something in my eye there. It's a freelance basis. I don't know if you're more like a regular teacher or what sort of, because of course education is very broad. So I think this may be my latest live stream. Actually, I've done one at about 10 o'clock before. This may be the first close to midnight. A few of my subscribers are from different countries, though. Like I've had American subscribers, I've had Turkish subscribers, Brazilian. So factoring in time differences there, that's why I try to do these things sporadically with no real planning. So if someone misses one live stream, they can catch up on another. So that's the idea. So let's see. The thing is, I look all collectively on what's happened, ITV, and the way they've gone about themselves too. Just to respond to you, I'm not a teacher. I work as a content developer. Okay. So is that like, would that be related to website design, that sort of thing, for education, or is it content developer? Would that be like online curriculum, that sort of thing? I mean, it sounds like sort of dynamic work, but I mean, it may or may not be. I don't know. I hope you'll excuse me multitasking here. California, Ashley, welcome. Late afternoon. Yeah, that's interesting. Late afternoon, still the 12th, I guess. What time is it, Ashley? I don't know what the time difference is. It's about 20 to midnight in the UK. And you're in California, so that would be, I'm not sure what the time difference is, maybe 10, 11 hours. I know with the Philippines, it's about a 7-hour time difference. So what time is it in California? You mentioned late afternoon, but specifically, what time is it? Are you American, Ashley, or are you Brits in the States? 8 hours. 8 hours, okay. Let's see, just multitasking here. You're in the UK too, Ashley Bradbury. Whereabouts in the UK are you, if you don't mind me asking? I'm in Sunderland in the northeast. And Ashley Wilson, whereabouts in California? I've never been to the Golden State myself, but I like my geography. Are you in LA, Orange County, San Francisco Bay? Whereabouts are you? I had an uncle in Santa Barbara for a while. I'm only watching closely the 2020 Olympics, of course, from Los Angeles, near Nottingham. My cousin lives near Nottingham, although she's on the Derbyshire side. From Yorkshire, but staying in the USA for the summer. I think you may have mentioned that in a previous video, actually, so excuse me for missing that. Have you friends in California, or just is it a holiday, if you don't mind me asking? I mean, it's quite a trek. It's probably about the same flight distance, I would imagine, as I took to the Philippines. I've been to the States a long time ago, but not the West Coast. Looks like tonight it'll be the two Ashleys, but you're both very welcome. It is an unusual time for a live stream because, like I say, I usually do them earlier. The thing is, with comments on my channel, it's I try to get back to them, but sometimes I get distracted and I can't always be meticulous on that. So I find this is a good way to try and give people an opportunity to raise questions, challenge me, raise subjects, could be anything. So thank you both for logging in. Are you going to stay in California for the whole summer, Ashley? I mean, are you going back to the UK soon, or is it like a longer term thing? Ashley Wilson, I should say. Talking of Britons in America, I watched Twisters today, and I've only just found out the lead actress is British. or I assume she is. She had a British accent, but I think we managed to get that crossover very well. I mean, we tend to British actors can do American accents, American actors can do British accents. It's I just thought, oh, there's a Midwest girl, and then I think she's a Londoner, so that was surprising. I can't remember her name, but yeah, it was a great film. If you get a chance to see it, Twisters, the sequel to Twister, 1996 Twister. My cousin lives in San Francisco. She married an American. Yeah, that'll bring you over. I mean, that's often family links. My girlfriend is Filipina, and she has family in California for a similar reason, actually, through marriage. I would like to see California at some point in my life. I'd like to go back to the States at some point within the not too distant future. Just visiting. I don't think I could live there, but definitely would like to visit. So what's San Francisco Bay like at the moment? Is it mild? Is it warm? What would San Francisco Bay be like in late September? Early September, I should say. Sorry, anyways, pal, I love the videos you post up, especially on stuff related to challenging Jeremy Kyle. Great to finally talk to you at last, and you have a good night. Thanks a lot, Ashley Bradbury. You too. I appreciate you logging in, and I guess you're on a shift now, so have a good evening, and you're always welcome to leave comments, to come to live streams. Really appreciate it. So have a good night. And Ashley Wilson, hope you stay on for a while if you want, because this is quite a quiet live stream, but it's good that I've had some people logging in. I thought there wasn't going to be anyone, so that's good. Ashley Wilson, I'm just wondering, actually, did you get any vibe from any sort of, I mean, I know you're there for family reasons, but I wonder, is there any sort of reaction to the presidential debate? I mean, Harris, of course, is a Californian, so I'd imagine it's going to be a Democrat state, of course. But I just wonder, have you seen any? I mean, is it political? I guess that's what I'm driving at, or do people seem apathetic? The Philippines are fascinating. It was under U.S. control for about 6 years before World War II. That's right, yeah. Immediately after the Spanish-American War, and also, of course, 300 years of Spanish colonization. So it's only had 17 presidents in its history. And I was looking today at another country that was part of the Spanish Empire, Peru. Peru, by contrast, has had 56 presidents. So it shows how relatively little the Philippines has actually been independent. Although it has to be said that General MacArthur is a very popular figure there. I think there's more affinity for the American period than for the Spanish period. But it's a unique country because it's the only Asian country that has that Spanish influence. It was the only Asian country in the Spanish Empire. So if you hear a Hispanic name like Garcia or Hernandez or something like that, but the person's Asian, the chances are they'll be a Filipino. Have you been to the Philippines, Ashley? Indeed, never part of the British Empire, although we did occupy Manila briefly in 1762. It was a British blockade, I believe, in the 7 Years' War, if I've got that right. So we did briefly occupy Manila, but it was never a colony. It was never like what Vietnam was to the French or Burma was to the British. It was never a British colony. But I think we've got good relations with the Philippines. It's always been, I shouldn't say always, but it's had a strong pro-West foreign policy for a long, long time. Let's see. Scottish Davros and friends for sort of pop culture. Jeremy Kyle should be prosecuted and jailed. I'd love to see that. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's a real POS. I mean, I haven't minced my words when it comes to Jeremy Kyle. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he is savvy enough. He'll have his lawyers. He'll have his excuses. He'll get some smart lawyer who manages to argue that he isn't culpable for what happened to his guests. They had aftercare support. There'll be all these excuses. And I agree with you. I'd love to see him prosecuted. I'd love that smirk to be wiped off his face. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. There's a big Philippine community in San Francisco. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. Actually, last night I was looking at because it was Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of California, and I was looking at her predecessors and successors in that role. And I think the current guy is a Filipino American, Bonta. He's called. He's the Attorney General of California, so it doesn't surprise me. Big Asian population in general, big Chinese, Japanese as well. That's when I think of California, I tend to think of that. Actually, I tend to think, yeah, there's sunny beaches, Beach Boys, Hollywood, Asian Americans. It's one of those things that comes into my mind, and Hispanic Americans. They say California, if it were a country, would be the world's ninth biggest economy, on par with Italy, if it was an independent country. I don't know if you saw Civil War there this year. It was sort of a dystopian thriller about a scenario of an American Civil War. I mean, it certainly wouldn't be to everyone's taste. It was quite graphic, but I'm interested in journalism, and it was directed by Alex Garland. An interesting concept, the Western alliance of California and Texas versus the federal United States. Scottish Stavros, how are you? I'm guessing with that name you're a Doctor Who fan, but I could be off base with that one. Do you know any Filipinos, Ashley? I mean, Filipino Americans or Filipinos? I find them very social people. I mean, that's my experience. Very family oriented, social, like to have fun. I had a predominantly good experience there, although I got a very nasty sunburn. My own fault, but that was a bit distracting. Hair like mine, I burn easily. I always feel these live streams, I give people a bit of a preview of my drinking mugs, but I don't mind. Let's see. If there's any questions, people, feel free to put them out there, because it's always good to have kind of a trend going. I don't tend to bring up topics in these live streams because I want them to be an opportunity for subscribers to ask questions or to raise subjects. There might be a little bit of a time lapse actually. Oh, here we go. There we go. More the classic Who era, but yes, Tom Baker's here is my favorite. I'd be the same. I'm not a huge Doctor Who fan, and I certainly couldn't if people were to push me on storylines and all that sort of thing. But put it this way, I appreciate it enough to have got a pricey calendar a few years ago with great artwork for each of the incarnations. Yeah, Tom Baker's probably my favorite as well. I like John Pertwee. I like some of his things. The thing about that classic era, I mean, it is what it is. There was the BBC budget of the time, it was very artificial looking, but there was something about it. There was an ethereal quality. I kind of feel the New Who era, Tennant onwards, it's kind of a bit, well, I guess Eccleston onwards is a bit polished or something. I can't put my finger on it. I just like the alien quality of the vintage Doctor Who. There's just something about it that's more alien, more intriguing as a science fiction show. I mean, New Who, I'm sure, has its merits, but it just feels like, okay, we're going to give people some monster costumes or robot costumes or something, and I don't know, it just doesn't carry the same. Having said that, I watched the new guy, if I could pronounce his name properly, Gatwa. I watched his first episode, I quite enjoyed it, the one about the goblins. It was quite like that. But yeah, classic Who would be more to my, I don't know, it's more, I remember as a kid I used to see that intro, the sort of time tube thing, and it had that orby electric music in the John Pertwee era. I thought it was really creepy, and that's something that stuck with me. I do have some DVDs and videos from the classic Doctor Who's. I've even got one from Hartnell. Actually, talking of Doctor Who, one of the first companions, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but he passed away recently at the age of 99, I believe. Forget the guy's name, but he was from Sunderland, and he was a teacher in An Unearthly Child. The companion, one of the first companions, actually, very first companions. So he passed away recently at the age of, I think it was either 99 or 100. And he was from Sunderland, so the Sunderland connection there. I love that production and adventure in time and space, kind of about the creation of Doctor Who. I was disappointed with Civil War. It was an action movie and a bit vapid. The main message of the film seems designed to frighten Trump supporters during an election year. Yeah, I mean, I know the film. I must be honest. I liked it, but I understand why it was polarizing. I think it was a bit more than action, to be fair. I mean, it wasn't just straight car chases and so on and violence, although that was there. I mean, if we consider Kirsten Dunst's character, you know, she's sort of a hardened war photographer. The film did polarize, and critics were quite harsh on it. I must admit, maybe it's just because I come from a journalistic background. I thought it was a powerful film. It was shocking. A little bit, I thought it looked like a Paul Greengrass film. If you're familiar with any of his work, he tends to United 93, Bloody Sunday, things like that. So I appreciate what you're saying. I did like it. I thought it was, I did think it was more than just action. But it's intense. And I mean, you mentioned to frighten Trump supporters. I don't think it will frighten them because they're already extreme in many cases. I mean, there was an interview with a guy in Illinois, and he literally said to the reporter, "This is holy war." Now, someone who's that far gone down the rabbit hole, I don't think is going to be influenced by a film with a British director. Um, but yeah, I know why it was polarizing, but I personally found it quite powerful. I don't like the romance element to New Who. It takes away from the Doctor's character. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think they almost humanize the New Who too much. Forget he or she is an alien. So it's. I just think the old Doctor Who, even the more affable incarnations like Peter Davison, there was still that alien quality there. I don't know, and the Doctor was always in command. There's something about the New Who is just different. It just feels too down to earth almost. Yeah, exactly. And the romance thing you mentioned. I mean, I would cite, for example, there's you may know this Scottish Davros with Peter Troughton's Doctor, the second Doctor. I don't know what the episode was, but there was it was with Victoria Waterfield, and he gives this monologue, and it's a really charming monologue. He's like a grandfather figure. He says he's talking to her about basically age and so on, and she's, "Oh, you wouldn't know being so old. You may know the bit I'm talking about." I just thought she was really cute as a companion, but anyway, that was not a love angle. It was like the Doctor was talking like a grandfather figure. But anyway, that's I derail. um, say William Russell. Thank you. Yeah, that's his name. I think he was either 99 or 100, and he was from Sunderland. So that's kind of a local connection to Who history. I think one thing about that show actually was it was a lot of people would be surprised to hear that it was a woman and an Indian guy that were the producers, Verity Lambert and I think Waris Hussain, which for the early 60s was quite unorthodox, you know, in a world where most producers would have been white men. So that was sort of pioneering. I'm going to wrap this up soon. So, Ashley, have you had a chance to see what have you seen this year? What would you mentioned you didn't like Civil War. Is there any movie you've seen that you enjoyed that you would recommend? I may or may not have seen it. I've seen about 12 movies this year. And my film taste is very eclectic. It ranges very wide ranging. So, what was the last film you saw, and would you recommend it? I will say one thing about Civil War that was unrealistic. I mean, as much as I thought it was a good film, they had the Western Alliance with California and Texas. But California and Texas, the chances of them aligning together are pretty remote. I'm sure there's some justification for this, but the new Alien movie is popular here right now. Yeah, I think my friend showed me the original one. I must admit, I'm not that familiar with them. I think I've only seen the original actually, and that was a long time ago. Um, but I do watch franchise films. I mean, I watched Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I am into that series. I watched Godzilla vs Kong, and I think the 2010s and the 2020s can be defined as franchise films. There's very few standalone films. So many movies these days are part of a bigger, whether it be the Marvel universe or they tend to be part of a series. Even Twisters, which I saw today, great movie, really enjoyed it, but even that was a sequel. So there ain't many standalone films nowadays. It's something I've noticed about the film industry. I was looking at film listings. I saw the thumbnail for the new Alien movie. It sort of showed the alien on someone's face. So I guess that's a reference to maybe one of the older films. I'm not sure. Have you seen it, Ashley? Did you like that? Was that something you wanted to see, or is it more like it's intriguing because there is an interest in it? My friend was going to get me to see Beetlejuice, but honestly, I checked out the trailer and it just went over my head. I didn't see the original one, and I think that's always a disadvantage if there's a sequel. It's difficult if you haven't seen the original. For me, I don't mind some of Tim Burton's stuff, but I just couldn't fathom what was going on. I get the impression he's some sort of ghost character and he controls other ghosts. So I don't know. I couldn't get my head around it. Based on the trailer, that was off-putting. Independent Irish movie Kneecap is excellent now on Amazon. I watched a movie last night called Irish Wish with Lindsay Lohan with my mum. It was okay. It was a bit of escapism. It was also very cliched. They had what we would call diddly-dee music. It was okay. It was a romantic comedy about a young woman that fell in love with. She was an agent. She fell in love with the writer, but then realized that he was the wrong guy. Went with the other guy, and Saint Bridget gave her wishes. It was a bit silly, but it was all right. I mean, it was all right for escapism. It's never going to be the sort of film that gets a lot of acclaim. But me and my mum were laughing at how cliched it was. They had like a nice streaming river with like the glens, and everything was all polished, and Irish dancing in the pub. It just looked, I don't know, like an American concept of what Ireland would be. But it's all right. It was entertaining enough. So you mentioned Kneecap. That sounds like a crime film. Would I be right in that assumption? Oh, I know the one you're referring to. It's about a group of young rappers, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know if that would be down my street, if I could find it depressing. Group of young rappers singing in Gaelic from Northern Ireland. And there's references to the Troubles or something. I the impression I get from that, I could be wrong. It looks depressing because I knew people precisely like that when I lived over there. But I don't know. Could be different in my perception. I mean, I have to be honest. I'm not a fan of rap in general. I watched 8 Mile years ago with Eminem, but rap is just not a genre I can get into. So, guys and girls, it is quite late, so I'm not going to do this one for too much longer, but give it another 5 minutes, because I don't mind the subject. Films is always a good subject. Just move this. If I had to say for me, the most moving films of the year, the Iron Claw wrestling drama, very powerful. It's about the Von Erich wrestling family of Texas. Bit hard to watch it, but it covers difficult subjects like suicide, but powerful film. And today's movie, Twisters, I've seen it twice actually. I watched it in the Philippines with my girlfriend, but I didn't mind. It was better the second time around even, and I thought it was good the first time around. So very worthy sequel. In fact, I was just messing around there. I just wrote down the movies I've watched this year, so this give you an idea, because I wanted to use my new highlighter. So I was just messing with this. So I don't know if you could see this, but this is the movies I've watched this year in the cinema. Kung Fu Panda 4, There's No Order, Mother's Instinct, Dune Part 2, Civil War, Godzilla vs. Kong, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Twisters, Wonka, The Iron Claw, One Life, and Bob Marley, One Love. Some of those double innings in one day, so I do love the cinema. I love the big screen. That gives us an idea of what I've been watching. Okay, I'm going to just show you that again from pure interest. I mean, to be honest, I was just messing around. I just wanted an excuse to use these highlighters. So I'm just going to scroll back. Sometimes I miss comments, so I'll just go back a little bit to make sure. The Philippine public all understand English. Sorry, Ashley, I didn't get that comment until now. Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's why I couldn't get a teaching job in the Philippines, because it's already an official language. Kneecap is set in modern day Belfast. It's a comedy about friction between traditional established senior IRA members and young Republicans attempting to steer their own path. I thought it was about a group of young rappers. Is that right? Or yeah, I mean, the thing is, with anything to do with, because I was born in Belfast, I find I pick Troubles related films very carefully, even if they're comedy related. I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed Belfast, the Kenneth Branagh film, but to be honest, the title puts me off. Kneecap. I mean, that's what they used to do to Informers. It's just an off-putting title, to be quite honest. But I haven't seen it, so would you say it's worth watching, Ashley? Because I mean, is it one of those things where the title sounds off-putting, but it's actually a good, intelligent film? They're the first Gaelic-speaking rap band. Yeah, I mean, for me, rap just doesn't do it for me for the most part. The youngest Von Erich was electrocuted. So you're familiar with the story of the Von Erich, Scottish Davros? Yeah, that's right. The little boy in 1959. Not much known about him. Of course, he never became a wrestler. But it's one big thing about that film that got a lot of controversy. It's a film dealing with the tragedy of the Von Erichs, yet they leave out Chris Von Erich. I don't know if you've seen it, Scottish Davros, but that was a controversial thing, particularly when one considers that Chris Von Erich's whole depression came from the fact that he felt secondary to his brothers. He was never as physically as big, which of course for a wrestler is a big thing. Um, and it just felt like a big mistake that they just admitted that. I know the director said he felt it would be too much for the audience, but they'd already taken, they knew what the film was about. There was already tragedy in the film. It just felt like a mistake to omit that. But other than that, I thought it was a powerful film. I don't know if you follow wrestling, Scottish Davros, but there's a channel called WrestleLamia. Behind the Titantron, those channels cover a lot of that sort of stuff, and they covered the so-called curse of the Von Erichs. Although I would say Kevin Von Erich's story has been more optimistic. You know, he's started a new dynasty, and it's like a fresh beginning kind of thing. His family seems pretty stable, you know, so it's almost like he's brought something positive out of the tragedy of his brothers. It's very political. Yeah, I can imagine so, actually. And that could be. I mean, I'm a political person, but I cherry pick depending what mood I'm in, basically. I mean, I come across drill videos from London, and it's just an alien world to me. The I find it dark and dystopian. I'm a massive wrestling fan. I'm a pretty big fan. I can't say that I. It's one of those things, I flip between wrestling and boxing. So there'll be a period I'm focused on boxing, then I go back to wrestling, then boxing. I love Royal Rumbles, so I might watch one tonight. Actually, talk of wrestling. Kevin, welcome. Am I too late? Have you just started or about to finish? Oh, honestly, Kevin, I was going to wrap it up, but we can wait another few minutes if you had any particular question, if anything you wanted to talk about. We're talking about movies tonight. That seems to be the theme. We're just talking about the film The Iron Claw, the wrestling drama from the start of this year with Zac Efron in the lead role, and Lily James, and forget the actor who plays, maybe you could tell me, Scottish Davros, who played Kerry Von Erich. I mean, the thing about that guy was he was a lot physically smaller than Kerry Von Erich, who's a huge guy. But I thought, I haven't seen him in anything else, but the acting was good. I think he carried the character well. And it's not an easy role to play. But yeah, I love Royal Rumbles. I think for me, Royal Rumbles are a good introduction to people who maybe don't follow wrestling because it gives them a sampling of wrestlers, current wrestlers and various moves and so on. I've always liked a good Royal Rumble. I might type in one randomly tonight. I think I watched the 1994 Royal Rumble recently, just 30 years ago. Would have been useful to see who are the names at this particular time. I mean, for me, I don't know if you feel the same way, Scottish Davros, but it was the Attitude Era that got me into it, like circa late 90s, early 2000s. That's the era I most resonate with. For some older people, it would be the Hulkamania era, the whole 80s wrestling boom. And then I followed it more recently as well, but not extensively. I mean, I get lost with a lot of the kayfabe stories, for example. So, 01 Rumble. Yeah, I remember the 2000 Rumble because I had it recorded on. I think I remember the 01 Rumble. Who was the winner? Wasn't The Rock? I don't think Mankind ever won a Rumble, did he? Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, Mankind. I don't think. I know there was one Rumble he came out with all three incarnations, but I don't know if he ever won a Rumble. So who won that Rumble? Austin. Ah, of course. Yeah, because Austin, of course, was the face of the Attitude Era. I might check that one out actually because I was going to type in a random Royal Rumble. So if it's on YouTube, I might go for that. I've seen Green Book and A Bronx Tale just recently. Love them both. I'm very familiar with Bronx Tale. I had that on video. I've seen it many times. Green Book I haven't seen, but I might watch. It's on Netflix. In fact, I was browsing yesterday and came across it. I was intrigued. I think it was Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen, and I think it might be based on a real story. And A Bronx Tale. I don't know if you know, Kevin, but there's a side story with that, kind of an ironic side story, and this might be a bit of a spoiler, although it's not about the film itself, but the young guy who played, the young guy in it, who kind of gets taken off the path by Chaz Palminteri, and he's torn between his father and Chaz Palminteri. The whole point of the story is being corrupted in youth, and getting what's the word? Getting misled by criminality. In real life, he actually done prison time. I don't know if you know this. He shot a police officer, and he actually done prison time, which is ironic. It's almost like in real life he ignored the caution from the story of that film, and he even mentioned that himself. I think he'd done about 7 years in prison. I forget the actor's name now, but I mean the young guy, the 17-year-old in the movie. Do you agree with me? There's a lot of right wing YouTubers talking absolute nonsense that have high numbers of subscribers. To be quite honest, yeah, I do agree with you, and I think there is a lot of, to put it bluntly, I think there's a lot of poison online, and that's concerning. I mean, I run a small channel. I'm just a guy that speaks my opinion on various subjects, but the manipulation and the how can I say, the gravitas, the influence that they can have is scary. Um, and it isn't just Alex Jones and those traditional conspiracy types, but it's I mean, obviously I'd avoid these channels; they just annoy the hell out of me. But yeah, I mean, I've had people coming onto my channel when it comes to Trump and Harris, and some of the comments are detached from reality. I mean, really detached from reality. For example, anyone that thinks in any way, shape, or form Trump won that debate has to be living on another planet. I think even most Republicans recognize he did not win the debate. But there is definitely a component there which is just, it's all fake news, and what Donald says is the truth. It's quite hard to fathom. Rock and Austin are my joint all-time favorite, and my current favorite is LA Knight. I've heard of that guy because I was looking at the WWE website just to get an inkling of who are the wrestlers at the moment. There's a lot, and LA Knight, that name sounds familiar. Unfortunately, they're not going to put any merchandise out on DVD anymore. I don't know if you've heard this, Scottish Davros. So basically, from I think 2023 onwards, they're just no longer producing DVDs. I don't know, or at least not in the UK. That's really unfortunate because it means that anyone wanting to get introduced to the world of wrestling, for example, if they go to CEX and get a discount DVD, that's no longer possible, or at least there's a time frame limit up until 2023. But yeah, I actually had a friend who was a wrestler, Sarah Jones. She was on an independent circuit. When I say friend, this is way, way back, but she was a professional wrestler on an independent circuit. So if you ever come across that name, Sarah Jones, I knew her. Um, it's mostly teenagers who still play to visit the cinema, which is why so many films are disappointingly feeble. I wouldn't entirely concur with that. I mean, I've been lucky. Everything I've seen, I enjoy. Well, not everything, but most of them. Um, I mean, if I think it depends what you watch, because I do feel that the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the what's the other one? Um, what's Marvel's big rival? The other comic book genre, graphic novel genre. I feel they've been far, far too dominant, and that's for me been one adverse effect on the cinema. But I mean, I like the big screen, and I see plenty of people, millennials in there. I don't think it's just young people, at least not where I live. And I think it would be a pity if cinema died for that reason. But I mean, in Sunderland, our cinema closed, and it's just been taken over by an Irish chain called Omniplex. So that was good. I mean, I think it would be a tragedy if the big screen died out. It's just not the same. You know, it's one thing cuddling up to a partner on with Netflix, and that could be nice. But there's something about the big screen I think is very special. Um, I mean, Ashley, you say most films are disappointingly feeble. I guess it really depends what you're looking for, right? So perceptions vary greatly. I mean, if you have a preconceived idea of what you're looking for and it doesn't match up to that, then you will be disappointed. But um, I wouldn't say it's necessarily to do with the demographics of the audience. That's not my experience. The DVD has gone the same way as the videotape and cassette. Yeah, they're being replaced by Blu-rays. It's hard to keep track. I still have predominantly DVDs here. And the thing is, I actually have a VCR and a DVD player. So long as that VCR is working, I'll be able to play videos because I have some old BBC productions that you can't get on DVD. Yeah, I heard that. It's really daft stopping DVDs. I think it would be a mistake because I think still in 2024 more people have DVDs than Blu-rays. But of course, this is the era of streaming services, so a lot of people don't have either. They just stream everything, which is, I mean, I have Netflix. I take advantage of it, but I'm a little bit old-fashioned. I just like the visual quality of a disc, like the idea of putting it in and watching it. I just like the idea of that. Same with CDs. I mean, I much prefer listening to a physical CD than, of course, I'll type into YouTube songs I want to listen to. Like there was one actually on Twisters called um, "Come Home Oklahoma" or "Come Into Oklahoma." If you see the film Twisters, you'll see the reference I'm making to that. I'll check out LA Knight, Scottish Davros. Would you say he's comparable to anyone in the Attitude Era? I mean, I think we see sort of very broad parallels. For example, in recent years, Braun Strowman, Big Show. Let's see, Roman Reigns, The Rock. They are distantly related, of course. The Samoan wrestling family. Who else do we have? I mean, I don't know. I sort of see characters today that kind of loosely remind me of characters from the Attitude Era. I wouldn't have a single favorite wrestler, but I like the Hardy Boys as a tag team, because I love their theme tune. Who else? Oh, who did I like? Mick Foley was memorable. The Rock, always liked The Rock. Um, Favorites, I don't know. Certainly there's wrestlers that stand out for good or bad. But I think it's a tough industry. The constant moving around, and it's. I think what people don't appreciate with the world of wrestling is the pressure on new prospects is enormous. You know that it's constant theatre and it's constant moving around, and the politics of the gym, not the gym, the what's it called, backstage, or for want of a better term. So my wrestling vernacular is probably not as up as good as yours, but I mean it's a very showy world, and I think it's all about so much of it is. I mean, the stunts are very real. So when people say wrestling's fake, they disregard that aspect that they're taking very real risks. Um, Rock and Austin, he has elements of both of them. I could see why. Would you say he's really been pushed in the industry as a wrestler? LA Knight. I mean, is he a big name at the moment? You know, if we were to talk about wrestling in 2024, would it be fair to say LA Knight is one of the big names? I mean, I think of guys like Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. If I'm thinking of this era, Braun Strowman. I mean, these are just names that come into my head. Who else do we have? A Scottish guy. Uh, damn, what's his name? Big guy. He's from South Ayrshire, I believe. Uh, so those are the names that come to mind. I'm sure there's others that Dean Ambrose for a while. I think he's left the wrestling world now. Don't know if CM Punk's still around. Actually, a guy I liked in the Attitude Era was X Pac. I always liked that move, and the Bronco Buster, the Generation X, was quite a memorable stable. Apologies for non-wrestling fans here. We're probably polarizing everyone else, but yeah. Anyway, guys and girls, I will wrap this up fairly soon because it is late. I want to read a newspaper and do a few other things. Kevin Grant. Kevin, are you still here? It's just been a while since you've commented, so. The crowd always chant his catchphrase. So is he sort of getting, who's that guy? Guy with a beard. He always got the, oh yes, or what was his name? Damn, not Bray Wyatt. Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan. Is he still around? Or is he, because I know like the staying power of wrestlers in WWE is not always prolonged. Often they'll go over to other promotions. Go check out LA Knight. What about his theme tune? For me, that was always a thing with wrestlers. Again, in the Attitude Era, of some very memorable theme tunes. Austin, of course, the Smashing Glass. Taz, don't know if you remember Taz. I always liked his theme tune. The sort of Brooklyn tough guy thing. He's in AEW now. Interesting. Try to think of other. Drew McIntyre, that's who I'm thinking of. Big guy. Let's see, who else would I think of in this current era? I'm just thinking of names that come into my head with male wrestlers. Is there a character called Crow, not Crow, K Crow, something like that. I'm going to have to patch up on my. I'm sure I'll look at WWE's website right now and think, I should have said that guy or that guy. Big E, there's another one. Kofi Kingston, those are names that come to mind. What's the guy? Platinum blonde hair. He's a big name at the moment. He won the last WrestleMania, I think. He has an ongoing feud with The Rock. What's his name? Damn. Platinum blonde hair. Good on the mic. What's his name? Damn it. It'll come to me when I look at he's like one of those big names. And of course, I saw that whole storyline with Rey Mysterio and his son, Dominic Mysterio. The whole family feud thing. I thought that is some performance. I mean, literally, it's father and son, and they're performing for, it's quite something. Big E is retired, neck injury. Yeah, that's the world of wrestling. Who am I thinking of? Platinum blonde guy. He's a big name. Not, I think he's the son of Dusty Rhodes. Cody Rhodes. Yeah, he seems to be pretty big at the moment. Is he a heel or a babyface? I mean, I'm really a bit out of touch at the moment. Would he be a heel or a babyface at the moment? I know he's had this feud with The Rock, so I don't know what that's how they're pushing that storyline. Hi, Kevin. Babyface. Yeah. So has The Rock turned heel again? Is that the pitch you're going with? Because I saw this little segment, I must admit, it just came up. Triple H was doing an interview, and The Rock comes up and he says, "This is wrong and you know it." And it's like it was something to do with the whole feud with Cody Rhodes. And then I had to remind myself, no, it's wrestling, it's kayfabe. But I don't know what the story was with that one. Who do you think is going to win, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? I think they should settle it in a Hell in a Cell. No, just joking. We're talking about wrestling. So I don't know. I hope Harris wins. I absolutely hope she wins because I do believe Trump is dangerous. But strange things happen in American politics. She has to get those swing states. I think if she gets North Carolina, let's say 3 or 4, there's 7 swing states. If she gets 4 or 5 of them, I think she's got this election. But unfortunately, if it's very close, that will just give ammo to Trump to push conspiracy theories. I mean, I'm a little bit concerned that there's all this optimism in the Harris campaign, and that may be misleading. It's worth pointing out that there is previous occasions where a candidate has won a presidential debate and went on to lose the election. Mitt Romney is thought to have won the first debate with Obama. He lost the election. Let's see, Hillary Clinton was thought to have won her debates with Trump. She lost the election. The thing about the American political system is the Electoral College. It seems to carry so much weight. So Harris really has to achieve what Hillary Clinton didn't, and it's a huge ask when you consider she's only been the nominee for just over a month. So I hope she does, but I mean, there are a lot of Americans that get taken in by Trump's rhetoric, and it's concerning. But I think if she gets North Carolina, that's definitely a good sign. I'll certainly be up on election night. I just hope it is quite decisive because, like I say, if it's close, if it's like the 2000 election, that's just going to give ammo to Trump. Trump does not look well. Well, there's one thing worth pointing out, actually, which is that in 2020, there were a lot of Republicans willing to go along with Trump's narrative about the stolen election. This time around, I think there'll be less Republicans willing to do that because I think they're just tired of Trump. They're going to say, why are we going to keep, politics aside, they're going to say, why are we going to keep backing a loser? And he is a successive loser. He's lost the popular vote now, as I make it, 2016 lost the popular vote, won the Electoral College. 2020 he lost the popular vote. If he wins the popular vote this year, 3 times. So I do think there will be ambitious Republicans who said, let's dump this guy, he's a liability. But we'll see what happens. I mean, it's definitely, I think this will be one of the most watched elections ever. And I know every American election it's said, oh, this is historically important. I really, really believe this one is particularly important because of what Trump represents and what he's threatened to do if he doesn't win. Threats of bloodshed. That's never happened before. In fact, we have to go back to 1876 to get anything even close to it. The 1876 election, the losing candidate Tilden, there was pamphlets saying Tilden or blood. That was another era, and that didn't transpire. This time, it's actually plausible that it could transpire. And I just find it hard to fathom. I saw one guy interviewed in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and he actually acknowledged, he said, Trump's a lunatic, but we have to say, are we going to just accept him for what he is, but vote for him because he'll be good for the economy and just accept him for what he is? So I think there's people out there who know what Trump is like. They know that he's a liar. They know that he is a polarizing figure, but they will still vote for him. And then you get people who are just hardcore supporters and they believe he's a victim of a witch hunt and all the rest of it. A woman in the shop today in the Spar, actually, when I got in the newspaper, said, "Oh, did you watch the debate, Trump?" And Harris, she's pretty famous, but she still doesn't quite have the recognition that Trump does. So I don't know if that represents anything. But I did see something earlier saying that what Harris managed to do in that debate was not make Trump the most important character in American politics, because that's what he has seen himself as since 2015. I mean, he had one term, yet people could be forgiven for thinking he was a two-term president, because I feel one unfortunate thing about the Biden era is it's like the constant shadow of Trump has been over it with all of Trump's trials. And, usually the defeated candidate kind of goes off and writes some memoirs or something. With Donald Trump, his stink is still there. It's just like metaphorically his shadow has been glaring over the entire Biden presidency. Are you going to watch the next program, Vince McMahon? That's intriguing. I mean, the implications of that could be massive. If Vince McMahon falls with, I know there's sexual assault allegations, if the culture that he has promoted in the organization, if there's a huge, let's say, for example, if it is to the WWE what Harvey Weinstein was to the world to Hollywood, it could really change the culture of WWE. I don't know. But yeah, if I get a chance, I might watch that one. Because I watched WrestleMania, I watched Behind the Titantron when I get around to it. Toxic, welcome. I'm afraid you've come quite late. I mean, I did leave you a comment in my last video. I said see you in the live stream, so I am going to wrap this up in a few minutes. But if you want to drop in anything, last topic, please do. We've mostly been talking about films tonight and the US election. They're the two main themes in this live stream. Check out this, people. This is the backdrop on my other laptop. Beautiful. Don't know where that is. This is just randomly coming up on Microsoft Live. Bavaria, Germany. Did not think it would be that. I thought it'd be Canada, or just show you again. That's actually Bavaria. I guess it could be, yeah. But that the last one that came up was Yangshuo in southern China, which I'm very familiar with. Okay, I must say, Nathan, I used to have mixed feelings regarding Piers Morgan, but nowadays I completely lost respect for him. As you already know, this is a guy who used to be a former Red Top Press, I guess you're going to say editor. I've read his book, actually, The Insider Diaries, about his time as an editor, and by his own admission, it's a very sleazy world. The Red Top Press, the fueling divisions and exaggerating problems for a one-track goal of making a quick £1. Yeah, I mean, I've been skeptical of Morgan for years, and for me, it's not that I disagree with his positions. I agree with a number of his positions, but I think he's just. I think Piers Morgan will say anything if he thinks it's good for ratings. I question how much actual conviction the man has. He says he's friends with Trump, and he sort of turns against Trump. He will attack guests and then do the same thing, come out with similar positions. I think he's a very cynical character. One of the most disgraceful things that Morgan done in recent years was stigmatizing male depression. And yet he himself has had issues in that department. Just, yeah, let's see. I know for a fact that, yeah, sorry, this is what you're referring to. Sorry, I'll just go back to your comments here. What I find most disgusting is not just his egotism, arrogance, double hypocrisy. He hates hypocrites, hypocrisy. But he committed lots of hypocrisy himself, cynicism, stupidity, and callousness. But I know for a fact that he told male individuals who are very suicidal to man up, which rubs salt into the wound of those who go through suicidal tendencies and depression. Plus, while he stands up to opinion, which means he never does all of this sort of actual care for the United States, he does all of this to make money and garner ratings, which is utterly self serving, pretentious, and reprehensible. In short, it is best when it comes to those who do good deeds, but for selfish purpose to balance our heartfelt congratulations to them with a very strong measure of disappointment and condemnation. Yeah, I mean, I would concur with a lot of that. Piers Morgan he's kind of a Trump of the press world in the sense that he will say anything if he thinks it'll get him ratings. He will say anything. And it's a pity because he does have some. It's not that all of his opinions are wrong. I do agree with some of the takes he has made, but as you say, it's so insincere or comes across as insincere. He will argue for the sake of arguing. And journalists have to ask tough questions, but Morgan argues for the sake of arguing. And it's like he just thinks, oh, I better liven things up, I'll be controversial. It's very cynical and it's very, I don't know, I think that I could see echoes of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and a few other figures in Piers Morgan. He's been extremely successful, can't deny that, but he's almost, I would say, a British Tucker Carlson. As far as I know, he's not. He's not an apologist for Putin, but he he will say anything to be a contrarian. That's the thing with Piers Morgan, and it's been successful. Unfortunately, it does work. That and therefore lied to everyone that he cut ties with him, much to him claiming to. So I'm just going through the comments quickly here. Toxic. Another thing that just grinds my gears about him is his undying loyalty to Trump, despite all the valid evidence coming out of the woodwork. It also contradicts Morgan's pretend own positions. I mean, one time I did respect Piers Morgan was when he stood up to the American gun lobby, which, when you think about it, for a British journalist, it's kind of risky. And I remember Alex Jones got into this bizarre tirade against Morgan. He was talking about 1776 and all this, and Morgan was very much on the side of common sense with the gun debate. Yet, he also he's a Trump supporter, and he says, "My good friend Donald Trump," and then he said, "Oh, but the American people don't want a King Donald." So, which is it, Piers Morgan? Are you with this guy or not? I mean, if he's seen the light and he's distanced himself from Donald Trump, fine. But I think with Donald Trump, there's a lot of Klingons, a lot of people who, I mean, in the case of Piers Morgan, he's a pretty prominent figure in his own right. But and as for Elon Musk, I don't know what he's getting out of Trump. It's certainly not money because he's got oceans of money, but it's maybe some sort of media agreement he's had with Trump, which could be illegal, as in it's corruption, to promise sort of favors before a presidential outcome. Who knows what's going on? It may well be that he promised Robert Kennedy a cabinet position in return for his support. I just think anyone that attaches himself to Trump in a prominent way has to have their moral compass a bit skewed. Yeah. So I'm quite tired here. I'm going to wrap this one up, but thanks everyone for dropping by. It's been a good live stream in the end. I thought it would be slow at first, but it's been good. As always, I try to. I keep losing my internet connection. Yeah, sorry about that, Ashley. I know what that's like. I've been in similar situations, but not to worry. I've appreciated your contribution here, and it's always good to have female insight as well. So